Yeah.
Last week we talked about the Nintendo Switch, and in the past week we've been getting little trickles of information.
We
And
have.
so I thought we could talk about that, some of the stuff we've heard. I don't know if you have anything specific you want to talk about. I don't have
Yeah, yeah.
anything written down here as far as like the leaks that we've been getting.
Right, right.
I think the most important thing to acknowledge is that we are going to be getting more concrete details on January 12th, 2017.
Yep.
So a few months out, I think we can stop and talk about that just for a moment. Do you think? I mean, I was listening to someone else talk about it. I don't know if it was Nintendo Voice Chat or Game Explain or Game Scoop or any one of these podcasts. Maybe it was the Destiny podcast I listened to. I don't know. Where they thought it was kind of funny that we get less than 24 hours notice for the initial trailer, but then we get months notice for this announcement. People are
Yeah.
thinking that that may mean that it's going to be a pretty big deal, kind of like an E3 showcase sort of thing.
Hmm.
And they want to make sure like all the press is marking that in their calendars, like, yo, we got to be at this Nintendo thing on January 12th. Especially since that'll be right after most news outlets take their kind of New Year's break. Like a
Yeah.
lot of news outlets around like Christmas Eve or so stop publishing new content, and then like a week
By
after.
by the 12th, I think we'll all be kind of back on track, back in
Mm-hmm.
our schedules and all that after New Year's and after Christmas and all that. So, yeah, I think one major thing was they tried to beat their little meeting that they had, their financial investors meeting,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't really look into like how that all went since we already got our Switch announcement. I think that they've already had it at this point, but it wasn't like major news
Yeah,
or
not too
anything.
much new from
So,
what I heard. A few things,
um,
but
but and maybe that's where the January 12th thing came from. I'm not exactly sure, but I do think that they were kind of racing to beat that because it would have probably been discussed anyway,
mm-hmm.
and it also kind of just like a fan service to not have us be totally dry and hanging until January 12th to give us a little something. So it was kind of, I think, a soft kind of not the actual release announcement of the NX, but I think it was, here you guys go, like, here we made something for the fans, for everybody who's been waiting patiently for all this time. It's not like the huge big important reveal like with the price and we're going to do that later, we're going to do that January 12th, but here it is just to keep you all satisfied and teased for a little bit, like they said,
Yeah.
it is a teaser. So I think that that's
What
exactly what it
And I
was.
think there's also the concern, like, because they said, hey, we're not going to give you any more details till 2017 now. Like, that was it for 2016 as far as the NX Nintendo Switch news. Like, we said we would talk about it in 2016. We did. That's it. And
Yeah.
then, like, it was followed up by a whole slew of basically Bethesda, Ubisoft, all of them saying we have no games to announce at this time. Even though, like, you've seen our games and all of that.
Well, I guess
Like,
you could kind of think of it as almost like their Zelda thing when they promised like we're gonna show Zelda at E3, and it was like, and then I think they may have said like we're not really gonna be showing much of Zelda at E3, and it was like, wait, what? You guys promised? And
yeah.
so they're like, here's a little bit of Zelda, like because we promised, so we're not
Yeah.
gonna. And then next E3 we'll have like a huge showcase of like nonstop, just complete Zelda, so you guys will be completely satisfied, you know.
Yeah, and
So I think it was kind of that.
I think the big thing there is that they're like, okay, we did fulfill our promise of 2016, but now we're not going to talk about it till 2017. And I think people then had the concern of like, well, are you going to talk about it? Are you going to wait till like basically February, like March? Or like, are you going to give us any heads up before this thing actually launches? Like, is
Hmm.
it going to be? I mean, you're cutting it super close now, and so I think by them coming out and saying, okay, it's going to be January 12th, they're basically saying, I know we said 2017, but it's not going to be too far into 2017. Like right when 2017 starts, we're there to share details because I think there's that worry of like by you guys not giving a definitive date and just saying 2017, it basically is kind of sometimes implying it's going to be as late as possible in 2017. And
Yeah.
so that is kind of them doing goodwill by saying like it's going to be as early as possible in 2017, that you'll know details. And also some other details that have followed up with that is that they're going to be sharing software, like the games that are going to be launching with the Nintendo Switch. It seems as though Kimishima has been saying that they're going to be launching or be showcasing some of the hardware specs of it and how the hardware can be utilized in different ways. So people are speculating maybe some more talk about the controller. A multi-touch sort of screen maybe will be talked about there because that's been rumored and leaked with the dev kits, as
Yeah.
well as storage space and all of that. Other people are going on to speculate that we're obviously going to probably get like specific launch date, price, etc. And so some other podcasts have already been doing this, but I thought maybe we could go ahead and take the opportunity just to ask ourselves, what do we think? And we talked about this last week actually, but what do we think the price will be? When do
Yep.
we think the launch date will be? Do we think that's what they're going to be talking about at the
A launch bundle with Zelda, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Game Explain was talking about the idea of like
Yeah.
throwing it in there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's gonna be a Zelda bundle. Well, I think there could be a Zelda
Yeah.
bundle, but I don't think it'll be like
Well,
that'll be a
at
deluxe
launch.
350 version or something.
Yeah, I could see that. But it would be kind of smart because, like, I mean, I think Game Explain kind of made the point that it would hurt their sales of Zelda because they know it's going to be selling like gangbusters or whatever their quote
Although
was.
I kind of have to
But
I have to contest that because
that's what I was about to say. If you'd let me finish,
oh, go ahead.
that Super Mario Bros. Was packaged with the NES, and that was like a huge like selling point for Super Mario Bros. That put it into like that's one of the reasons why it's listed as one of the biggest selling games of all time is
Yeah.
because of those NES sales automatically gave a sale to Super Mario Bros. So every NES sold was a Super Mario. So I think that it would add into those sales and it would help. I mean, it would push. It would show that Zelda sold the exact same amount of copies as whatever the Switch did, plus whatever it did on the Wii U, plus So I think that, and I think that your situation of them doing a deluxe actually makes probably a little more sense. But I mean, they could do it both ways. I think,
Little
and
gold Joy-Cons.
help. Yeah, and especially for those people that like us, and if they do pull, which I hope they don't, and release like it a week earlier on the Wii U or something, so that we're tortured and we're like having to avoid it, or have that tearing at us. Like, do we get the Wii U one just because we we want to review it and know what's going on, So if they bundle it in with the Switch, it would help for in that situation, So there's ways that they can approach it, but I do think that bundling any game, even if it was something like a Nintendo Land sort of thing, would be a definite like huge benefit to Nintendo to do.
I think because what we've seen in the past is like the Wii was bundled with Wii Sports, was very much so showcased the motion control aspect of the Wii. The Wii U was bundled with Nintendo Land, which showcased how you could do party games with two different screens. Like Nintendo Land, I still stand by as one of like the best utilizations of the gamepad. It's so fun to play that with a party.
They could even do like if they like bundled Skyrim in with it.
Well, that's
Skyrim
what I'm saying.
Is a pretty inexpensive game now, where it's like you can buy it for less than $20.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like then with the Switch, Zelda would be an awesome showcase of what the Switch is meant to do, which is this massive open world console gaming that you can take on the go. Mm-hmm. And I think like Breath of the Wild and just even the idea of like going out in the wild, taking your Switch on the go, like it just all seems to kind of fit and could be when people are asking what's the point of the Switch, what's the point of taking a home console on the go, you can immediately point to the game that it's bundled with, Zelda, and say the whole point is that you can take it these console experiences on the go, and Zelda's the perfect example of that. And so I think it makes sense for that to be a bundle in there, and for them to maybe announce something like that there. Something else I was going to say, though, in kind of contrast to what Game Explainer was talking about, where it would take away the sales because Zelda will, quote, sell like gangbusters. I don't think, honestly, if Zelda were to stand on its own, that it would sell like gangbusters in comparison to... you look at these top sales charts for every Nintendo console, and there's like rarely Zeldas on there. It's
that's what I was thinking too.
Like Mario with Pokemon, Mario Party, like these kind of crappier, like not crappier, because I mean Mario, like Super Mario Bros. It definitely isn't crappy.
Well,
but like,
we're not. Like, keep in mind, we're not seeing any headlines saying Breath of the Wild is the most selling, like, pre-ordered game in Nintendo's history. We're seeing that about Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mario Kart, And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Mario Kart bundle. Like, you got to get that out there. But anyway, what I'm saying is, like, bundling Zelda with the Switch would be the opportunity, like you were saying, to make it look as if it's a high seller, and to also get people out there talking about Zelda that maybe wouldn't have normally talked about Zelda, but picked it up
Yeah.
because it was bundled. Because I think if you had a bundle of like the Switch and Mario Kart, and then sold Zelda separately and maybe not bundled it, there wouldn't be as many people playing Zelda because it's just not a game that sells like mass numbers. It's for those people that are diehard Nintendo people.
Hmm.
So the game needs to be out there and it needs to be sold. Obviously, like I'm not saying get rid of Zelda,
I
but
uh
I just think that it's not. It's one of those games that people think, oh, everyone loves Zelda, but then no one buys it. It's the same with
Yeah,
Metroid. It's
yeah,
the same
yeah.
with
Yeah. I thought that exact same thing, and this also kind of made me think too. Like, it would be a huge benefit to Zelda, and all those things are true. But what I could also see Nintendo doing is possibly just doing the Mario Kart bundle again. Like it did it for Wii. Like when they bundled Mario Kart Wii with the Wii, it was like a huge thing because that it instantly gets like your whole family involved. And since they're doing this like car trip thing, and that was one of the things that they really kind of emphasized, I could see them packaging it in a game that's able to be played like with both of the Joy-Con controllers right off the bat. And since Mario Kart 8 will be ported over, it's seeming like, um, it's also one of those games that's kind of arguably gone down in value a bit, so it wouldn't be as big of a deal to package in, Mario Kart Switch with the Switch,
Well,
so
yeah. Well,
that.
here I got some numbers pulled up real quick. The best-selling Wii games were Wii Sports, Mario Kart Wii, Wii Sports Resort, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Wii Play, Wii Fit Plus, Super Smash Bros., Super Mario Galaxy, Wii Party, Mario Party 8, Super Mario
Well,
Galaxy, and then I don't even know what number it is, but finally at 7.26 million, you have The Legend of Zelda: Twilight
oh,
Princess.
nice.
And so, I mean, it's down there, but that's compared to 29 million for Super Mario Brothers, and then the 82 million for Wii Sports, which that's those sales count because it's bundled. But they could. What you're saying though is that if the Switch is a hit, they could basically be turning those very small Zelda numbers into something that's. I mean, the next highest up is Mario Kart Wii at 36 million.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's pretty significant, and I think like it'd be a huge because I think Zelda is one of those games that a lot of people are going to be thinking, I'm going to be getting the NX version of this. I want the one that's like the best one. But when they're porting over games like Splatoon and Smash and Kart, I think that it might be smart for them to bundle one of those games in with the Switch for all those people who have already bought Mario Kart and already bought Splatoon and Smash, so that one of those games is already taken care of when you get the Switch. I think Zelda is a little bit separate from that. It's slightly the same because it will also still be kind of somewhat ported over from the Wii, but I do think those, like, at least those three core titles of Smash, Splatoon, and Kart would be ones to really highly consider bundling in because most of us have already got those games. And
yeah.
most of us are going to be kind of annoyed if Mario Kart Switch comes out full price on the shelves at $60 and we already spent, we bought the game, we bought all the
Especially if it's like a
DLC.
definitive edition, like
Right, right.
it does look though. I wouldn't be too upset. It does look though like they may be adding a new mechanic in, and
The
they may be
one
adding in.
switching items thing and a couple new characters, I don't know if it would. I think that I'd still be a little irked by like a $60 price point instead of, but
Yeah.
we'll see, I
We'll
guess.
see, yeah. I also want to acknowledge real quick that the top 10 Wii U games are Mario Kart 8, New Super Mario Bros. U, Nintendo Land, Super Mario Brothers World, or Super Mario 3D World, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, Splatoon, Super Mario Maker, New Super Luigi U, Mario Party 10, and then at the bottom, Wind Waker HD. So once again, for all these people saying that the Zelda is going to be the one that sells the consoles, it's Mario Kart 8 was 7.5 million. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD was 1.72 million. And then for the 3DS, it was Pokemon XY, Mario Kart 7, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, 3D Land, New Super Mario Bros. 2, New Leaf, Super Smash Bros. Tamagotchi Life, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and then at the very bottom, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D.
Yeah.
With Pokemon being 14.7 million and Ocarina of Time 3D being the 4.04 million. So I mean, like 1/3 of the
Yeah.
sales. And I mean, and to be fair, both of those are remakes of Zelda games, but at the same time, like I bet all like of the 1.72 million for Wind Waker and then the 4 million for Ocarina of Time, it's people like you and me that already love the games and are buying them again.
Yeah.
Like I bet the amount of sales of people that just went out and actually bought those games, like just off of like I'm seeking out this game or want to buy this game. I bet those are so few, and so there's going to
Yeah.
be. I think a lot more people are looking at Breath of the Wild because it is kind of the first Zelda to be like appealing to like a really mainstream audience with the open world structure. But all of that to say, it's not going to be the game that's like being picked up when you get the Switch if it's not bundled in. So I think it's awesome because people would love it, but it needs to be bundled in there if it's going to do any sort of numbers.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what we're talking about with the launch lineup. I mean, do you think, real quick before we close out the talk of the launch lineup, that that Mario Kart is even real? Do you think that's a real game? And also, do you think it's coming around the launch time, launch window, launch title? Mario Kart Switch, I guess, is what we'll call it.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely real. Like
Well,
I
there's
don't know
people out
why,
there that think it's not real. There's people out there that think it's just
because of
some.
the whole simulated gameplay thing or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's all a little silly, the simulated
yeah.
gameplay, because it's like we've several shows have already discussed. You don't record a TV actually playing a game, like it
Well,
won't look right. You have to simulate it. You have to do that.
Well, I even at
So
my job, I'm like we do certain things. For example, where we come up with branding and marketing for certain events and seasons. And one of the things I do as part of my job, I'm the visual arts designer at my job. And we did, for an example, we have an app at our business, and we want to have a new sort of design for it. And one of the ways I showcase to my boss how those apps will look is I design the apps in Photoshop and Illustrator, laid them into an iPhone sort of layout, and then took that screen grab and photoshopped it onto an iPhone sitting on a coffee table with a MacBook next to it and some plants, like to make it look as if someone had their phone sitting on a desk and had
mhm,
our app open so they could kind of see what it would look like, a proof of concept when the app is
right,
open on someone's desk.
yeah,
And at no point would someone look at that and be like, oh, because that's photoshopped onto the phone, it's not a
yeah,
real app. Like, no,
right,
it's
right.
just how you show it.
Well, and
And
well, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, and then there's the whole privacy aspect of it. Like they don't want people looking at these games when they're doing the recording because they go on Game Explain afterwards and have interviews where
Yeah,
they talk
yeah,
about it.
yeah, exactly. They probably they didn't want anybody to actually know what was going on and actually seeing what the games that they were playing. Um, but I do think that Mario Kart Switch is a real game. I do think all these games that they showed are actually real games.
Yeah,
And
Skyrim's coming to Switch for sure.
I think that Mario Kart Switch and Splatoon, and we haven't seen anything of Smash, but I would be surprised if it didn't come on the Switch. I think those games would be really easy to be ready, if not at launch, very, very, very quickly to launch. And that's like because they want to have their library, I think, at least like to know you can get Mario Kart, Splatoon, and Smash and all these games on here right now or very, very, very soon because it'll
Yeah.
make the system look better. And those are easier games to get on immediately onto the system.
Yeah, well, I
And
mean,
so to
they could
build that,
even do, hey, here's the launch bundle with Zelda or Mario Kart or something like those two games. You have the kind
mhm.
of more competitive multiplayer one and then the solo adventure game. And then next month in April, we're going to have Splatoon. And then the month after that, we have the new Mario. And the month after that, we have Skyrim Definitive Edition. Or I think Skyrim will be a launch title if it's
Well,
coming at all. And
and
so,
something I didn't even really think about, and I didn't talk about this last week, but I picked up the PSVR, or I actually was gifted it as kind of an early birthday present, which I did kind of have to pitch in some money to it. But I've been
awesome.
playing a lot of PSVR, and I didn't want to bring it up too much and go too much into it because it is a Nintendo show,
Mhm.
and we're kind of switching it up, doing a little bit different, not as much play and tell. But something about the PSVR that I thought was pretty cool is that it comes with this demo disc
Yeah.
and it
Oh, yeah.
allows you to play a whole bunch of just try out all these different games. And it made me think, Nintendo could come out with like a robust or a sort of demo system of these games so that maybe you could play like a couple tracks of Mario Kart with your friends and then maybe you could play some Splatoon and, have
Yeah.
a little cartridge that's built a Nintendo cart like they show in the commercial that just has a whole bunch of demos already on it so that once you pick it up you can play a little bit of all these games,
Yeah,
and you
well, I mean,
already have
they
something
they
to
even
play.
have the Zelda demo out there, like the E3 build, where you can basically just
Yeah.
explore that initial, what is it, the Great Plateau or something.
Hmm.
And it'd be so easy to do one track. I mean, and you go to these Targets where they have the Nintendo demos there. They have a ton of them. And that'd be awesome to have something like that, a little Or even I was thinking like they could bring back the NES tap thing where you tap your amiibo and you get like a little demo for one of the NES games, you know.
Yeah.
Just concepts like that where it's just these quick little things. Yeah, that's awesome. I think, and I've heard a lot of positive reception of the PlayStation VR demo disc where people are like, "Remember these things? Like when we used to get demo discs?" Like
Yeah.
people are
It's
loving
really
it,
cool. I like it.
and especially for a console launch, like I mean, demo discs are always nice to kind of have like a demo for a game, but especially at a console launch, which people are treating the PlayStation VR as,
Hmm.
it's really awesome to kind of have something like that for people to get a little taste of what's to come and what the
Yeah.
console is kind of capable of. And people, if we would have had a demo disc for the Wii U where it was like, okay, here's a little bit of Nintendo Land, here's a little bit of well, they should have had, you know, Super Mario Maker at the time, and et cetera, et cetera. People would be like, oh, this is what the gamepad can do across multiple games and the different
Yeah.
ways it could be iterated. So
Hmm.
that'd be awesome with the Switch.
For the PSVR, it's really good though for the demo disc because of motion sickness. A lot of those demos, people like will give a shot to see how it
Mhm.
affects them in terms of their motion sickness. And yeah, like the 3DS is a really good demo system. I think that works well and shows off some of those 3D capabilities before you actually pick up the game, which is really nice. And
Yeah.
it did kind of make me think the whole VR talk. I think that we can kind of pretty much rule out at this point that there's going to be any VR sort of aspect to the Switch
Yeah.
because I think that like for one we have to keep in mind that the whole console itself is basically contained in the handheld portion itself,
Yeah.
and so like I picked up my 3DS and I picked up the gamepad just to see like their weights and thinking of holding those on my head like they're pretty heavy, and so I think that
Although,
this would
if
be
you,
pretty heavy, and
how
yeah.
heavy is your Vita? I don't have my Vita on hand. It
I think
seems
it's
as
pretty
though
light.
people have kind of done comparisons. Apparently, the Nintendo Switch will be about the size of the Vita, because people looked at the headphone jack on the in the trailer and compared that to the headphone jack
I think
of.
it's a little bigger than the Vita.
I don't think it's too much though. I think it's pretty close to the Slim as far what people have seen from the headphone jack. The headphone
Well, I mean,
jack
we can
basically
see the
takes up the
guy.
top.
Well, we can see the guy sitting in the airplane with it up, like kickstanded, and we've also seen the kids playing in the car with it mounted, and it seems definitely to be, uh, more height and width than a Vita screen. Like in terms of size and everything, it seems like even like 3DS, and I'd think it'd be about gamepad. I would think the screen is actually probably a little bit bigger than the gamepad screen, but I mean, because I'm thinking like we gotta keep in when you're looking at the size aspect of it, those Joy-Con controllers are the sort of length of the system and how those fit in your hand. So when you have like your fingers, on it would have to be that size. So it'd
Yeah.
have to be pretty like it'd have to be about gamepad size, I would think, but I don't know.
Well, we
I'd
do
have to do
know
more.
it's about a 6.2 inch screen.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some things. There's DualShockers.com has some info on the exact height of it, or at least yeah, about the exact height because it's on Karen's nightstand or whatever. The girl that's playing
Hmm.
Mario and takes it to a party. Uh, her amiibo are about almost as tall as the dock, and the amiibo are about a certain height. And so there's some measurements for that. As far as the width goes, um, I thought I had seen some pictures of it being
Yeah.
compared to the Vita, and it being about yeah, because there's this shot here of him putting in the game cartridge, and then next to the game cartridge is the headphone jack, and the headphone jack takes up about half of the width, and so the whole console itself would be about the length of or the width of two headphone jacks, which is super tiny. Like that's
Hmm.
about Vita size there, and so I do think it'll be about that size. But yeah, I mean all that to say, we don't know how heavy the actual thing will be because if it has the whole processor and all of the battery and all that inside the handheld, even if it's thin, it would have to be pretty bulky. And what you're talking about with virtual reality is if that gets heavy on the front of your face, that starts to get a little, you know, just not comfortable if your head's being weighed down like that and you're moving around and swinging your head. Combine that with the motion sickness people are already getting from VR. You don't want the headset to be heavy and get even more uncomfortable and fatigued.
Yeah.
And so all that being said, VR with the NX, or the Switch, I don't know if that. I do think it may happen eventually because I can imagine the screen portion just kind of clasping into like a headset that they release later on. And in which case, the VR wouldn't be any different than when you put a phone in a little headset, If the Switch screen can just have the split, the dual sort of lens thing going on.
It's looking like the NX or the Switch, the NX is getting hard to keep it track, but it looks like it's going to be about 1.5 inches bigger than the Vita, like on width and length wise.
Okay.
From what I'm seeing, because it's about 5 inches. The Vita is the screen anyway, and it's about 6.5 inches on the Switch.
Yeah.
And so, and
it's
it seems like it's kind
I
of,
think.
yeah,
little phablet sort of thing, like not a tablet, not a phone, but yeah. So those are some of the specs, some of the things we found out. There is a rumor out there right now that it's multi-touch. We'll have to talk about that, I think, a little bit later as we get more concrete details on what the Switch is. And as we dig more into those rumors, I believe it's from Eurogamer, which has been right about the Switch in the past. And so we'll have to talk about that maybe at another time. And I think there should be a whole maybe separate discussion on what multi-touch could do for Nintendo games. Like, imagine the puzzles that they could do and Nintendo could come up with if you're able to do multi-touch.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff they could do with like a Zelda game or a Mario game where you have to do several touches at once, but also motion controls or some sort of it opens up a crazy possibility because I think the multi-touch thing that they're talking about is basically 10 points of impact where you could have both hands touching the screen, and just like you can with your iPad where you can basically be swiping one hand or pulling and dragging, and so
pinching.
Pinching. And I love touch, like iPad or the new the new Surface Studio, like when screens can be touched at like that, or the new touch bar on the MacBook. It all gets me going. And so
I think we should all rejoice a little bit that it didn't have those pop-up buttons that they were talking about. That like they were rumoring that both like Apple and Nintendo were going to be kind of switching to where the buttons were just going to kind of pop up like bubbles on the screen, and
look terrible.
That would have been
I'm excited. I mean, there's more and more rumors coming out, so we're probably not going to have any shortage of Switch talk in the upcoming months as we get closer to January. But it's going to be an exciting time, and I think, is there anything else you wanted to say about the Switch before we maybe move on to talk about Pokemon? Because we're going to be taking a pretty, we're going to go on a complete different topic with Pokemon. I'm just wondering, we talked about software. I mean, I wish I want to play some more Splatoon leading up to it, see if I can get any better at it. I think I maybe be doing some Let's Plays for Koppai. Maybe I go through the entire Splatoon campaign and show that off. That seems like it'd be a good series. Yeah. I was thinking, and I've kind of talked about this as we've been playing Civilization, which, by the way, I mean, I know it's a Nintendo podcast. Civilization 6, go get it. If you have a PC, go play that game. It's so fun. I do keep realizing more and more, though, that, like, in just 6 months, like, we can take Skyrim or this gorgeous, gorgeous Zelda game. Like, I'm watching more and more videos of it. Like, we can take that anywhere we want. Like,
I know.
There's going to be a Mario game that, I mean, even if it's like 3D Land or 3D World, I love those games. And I think they actually lend themselves well to mobile gaming because you just pick it up, do a quick level, get to the flagpole and put it away. I think, if we have those, and if Nintendo can just consistently push out games because they only have one division of games now, they're not dividing their stuff between handhelds and home consoles, like, man, we're going to be in for such a golden era of Nintendo, and it's just going to be, like, it's so exciting that the world's excited. Like, I keep seeing, the Tech Insider and, The Verge and all these tech places that are posting articles, like, how the Nintendo Switch is going to freaking rock it. Like, like, people are so excited for this thing, like the idea of just complete console gaming on the go. And while there are lots of concerns, like, people are still scared about the battery life and the resolution. And the big concern right now is especially cartridge size. There's a rumor out there right now that, like, they can't go past 32 max. Although people are thinking that's only for the sake of dev kits right now. And that at, like, when
I heard 128
is
kind of right now the sort of limit they're giving, but we'll see. It probably will have to be
128 gigabytes would be
increased.
enough. Like that would be enough to.
No.
No, that because I think with Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a massive game, that takes up close to 100 gigabytes after all the DLC, and so I mean they could have that all on the cartridge and still be good to go.
Yeah.
And as long
But
as
I thought that was digital storage was like on an SD card max size for digital titles. You could only have 128 gigabytes actually of storage on the device itself, so it would fill up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll see with that. I mean, I don't think
if cartridges themselves went up to 128 gigs, which I would think if an SD would, they both would, then that would be fine. In terms of I'm not really concerned at all about carts being able to fit the games, but in terms of digital.
Oh, you're thinking the Switch's internal storage, if that's limited to 120. Yeah, if that's limited to, if they pull a Wii U again, where it's hey, you get 4 gigs on this thing.
Yeah.
That's
well,
terrible.
even the 3DS is getting a little bit in that territory, especially now with Sun and Moon coming out, where they say if you want even just the demo and the game itself, you can have no other games on your system because unless you upgrade.
Yeah. Well, there's also the rumor that behind the kickstand on the Nintendo Switch is a place to put in expandable memory. So we'll see with that. We'll have to get more details later. I do think though that my big comfort with all this hardware specs, with all of the the rumors of the software and yada yada yada, I don't think that third-party developers would be as vocally positive about the Switch as they have been if it wasn't turning out to be something that's a dream to develop for. So far, everything we've heard from people outside of the typical PR stuff of we're excited for this opportunity with the Nintendo to, there's those things out there which I take worth a grain of salt, but there's other developers out there that are speaking out that are this thing is so fun, this is what we've been looking for, and there's people getting their dev kits that are we're going for the Switch, and we're excited, this is going to be awesome, and you think there would be more and more concerns about space from the developers if it was an issue. The only places I've really heard issues of space from are from the journalists that are covering it, And so we'll see with that. I don't think we can get too much into the weeds with that until we know, the complete details. And so,
yeah. Switch gonna give it to ya.
Switch gonna give it to ya.